There is a teapot in China that has not been washed in 200 years. Not neglected, not forgotten. Deliberately, carefully, never washed. And if you pour plain hot water into it, no tea, no leaves, nothing, tea drinkers insist it still gives something back. The walls of the clay have absorbed so many thousands of brews that the pot itself has become the tea. The memory is in the material. This is a Yixing teapot, and the story of why it works this way begins not with a craftsman, not with an emperor, but with a question that sounds simple and turns out not to be. How do you make a cup of tea that is better than the one before it? In Jiangsu province, about 100 miles west of Shanghai, there is a city called Yixing. People have been making pottery here for thousands of years. But one particular kind of clay, found deep beneath the hills around the city, turned out to behave differently from anything potters had worked with before. It is called zisha, purple sand. The name comes from its color, a dark reddish brown, sometimes closer to grey, sometimes almost violet. Unprocessed, it looks like compressed dirt. But once fired above 1,000 degrees, something unusual happens. Once fired, the clay remains microscopically porous, in a way glazed ceramics are not. It holds heat differently. It interacts with moisture and aroma in ways that porcelain does not. Tea drinkers have described it as breathing, and while that is not quite literal, something in the description is hard to argue with. Over time, tea and clay begin to influence one another. Traces build up inside the walls. They change the way the pot behaves. They change the tea. Potters have tried for centuries to imitate it. Nothing else behaves quite the same way. And the deposits are finite. In 2005, the Chinese government restricted excavation of the original mines to prevent them from running out. Some of the earliest seams, the ones used by potters 500 years ago, have already been exhausted. Much of what remains is tightly controlled, expensive, and increasingly difficult to access. A material that cannot be copied from a place that is slowly disappearing. For most of Chinese history, tea was not brewed in a pot at all. During the Tang dynasty, tea was compressed into hard bricks, broken apart and boiled in water like grain. During the Song dynasty, it was ground into powder and whisked in a bowl, the practice that crossed to Japan and became matcha. For over 1,000 years, no pot, no spout, no strainer. Then, in the Ming dynasty, the emperor banned compressed tea cakes. Loose-leaf tea became the standard, and loose-leaf tea needs to steep, then be separated from the leaves. You need, in other words, a teapot. The first teapots were porcelain, white, glazed, symmetrical, expensive. They announced wealth. They announced taste of a particular kind, the kind that wants to be seen. But among scholars who took tea seriously as a practice, almost as a discipline, the porcelain pot felt wrong. Too bright, too smooth, too easy to admire and too hard to love. They wanted something that would age with them. The zisha pot from Yixing was exactly that. Small, unglazed, rough to the touch, almost without ornament. It looked like something pulled from the earth. Nothing about it said, "Look at me." And that, to the scholars, was precisely the point. A Yixing teapot in the hands of a Ming or Qing dynasty scholar was not primarily a tool for making tea. It was a statement. These were men who believed that objects carried meaning, that the things you surrounded yourself with did not merely reflect who you were, They participated in shaping who you were. A glazed porcelain pot was imperial, wealth made visible. An unglazed yixing pot, small and dark and quiet, said something else entirely. It embodied a Taoist principle, that simplicity is not the absence of sophistication, but its highest expression. It said, without saying anything, I have enough. I do not need to show you. Some scholars had poems engraved on their pots. A line of verse on the body, a phrase on the lid. Not as decoration, as argument. The pot became a portable text. You held it and read it, and the reading was part of the drinking, and the drinking was part of the thinking. Some carried lines from poets or philosophers. From the small, see the great. 7 characters on something that fits in a palm. 1 pot, 1 tea, 1 idea. Here is how the memory works. Every time you brew tea in a yixing pot, some of what you brew stays behind. Not as visible residue. You rinse with hot water, the leaves come out, the pot looks clean. But at a molecular level, inside the pores, a trace remains. The oils, the particular character of that tea, that water, that day. The next time you brew, the pot is slightly different. The previous session is still there, faintly shaping the new one. Over decades, this accumulates. A pot used daily for 20 years holds 20 years of tea inside its walls. A pot passed down through a family holds something harder to name. Not just flavor, something more like presence. Over time, many tea drinkers begin to dedicate a yixing pot to a single tea. Another tea would introduce a different memory, disturb the accumulation, perhaps destroy it. And this is why soap is never used. Not to protect the clay, but because soap would dissolve the oils in the pores. It would clean out what the pot has learned, reset everything, the years of mournings, the accumulated depth. It would make the pot young again, which sounds like a gift. It is not. It is the end of everything the pot had become. A well-kept yixing pot changes visibly over time. The surface develops a patina, a deep, warm sheen that comes from handling, from warmth, from the oils of many hands. You cannot buy it. You cannot apply it. It arrives only through patient, consistent use over a long time. A practiced eye can see the difference between 10 years of use and 50, between a pot that was loved and a pot that was merely owned. When someone dies and leaves behind a yixing pot, it is considered one of the more significant things to inherit. Old pots by known makers have sold at auction for tens of thousands of dollars. A single 17th century pot in good condition can sell for more than most people earn in a year. But that is not why people treat them as significant. What you receive is not only the object. You receive everything that was ever brewed in it. Every morning someone rose and heated water. Every conversation that happened in the presence of that pot. Every quiet hour. All of that compressed into the walls of something you can hold in one hand. The pot does not know who is holding it. It is clay. But the tea it makes will carry, faintly, undeniably, the shape of everyone who held it before you. Most yixing pots hold between 70 and 200 milliliters, less than a coffee cup. Some of the most prized hold less still. This smallness is not a limitation, it is the argument. When the vessel is small, everything slows down. You cannot carry it to your desk and sip absently. The pot demands proximity. It produces per session barely enough for 2 people, which means you must be present, you must stay, And ideally you must be with someone, sharing the same small cups, refilling them again and again as the leaves slowly give up what they have. Scholars of the Ming and Qing periods wrote about this explicitly. The ideal tea session: no more than 2 or 3 guests, a quiet room. Conversation permitted, but only the kind that could be interrupted by a pour without anyone feeling slighted. The tea was the primary thing, everything else secondary. Most objects are optimized for efficiency, for producing more, faster, with less effort. The Yixing pot is optimized for the opposite. It produces less, it requires more, it insists on time, and it rewards that time in the only way it can, by remembering it. There are Yixing teapots in China that have been used for generations without ever touching soap. They have been used by people who are dead, who drank from them on ordinary mornings that they did not know were being preserved, who heated water and measured leaves and sat in rooms that no longer exist, having conversations that left no trace. The clay recorded what it could, not the thoughts, not the words, but the practice, the repetition, the warmth of hands and water and time. You can hold an object like this and feel the weight of it, heavier than it should be for something so small. And you might wonder what exactly you are holding. The pot, certainly, but also every morning it has known. Every quiet hour, every person who sat still long enough to be present. Pour hot water into it now, with no leaves, nothing to brew. Wait. Tea drinkers say something still comes back. 200 years of mornings, given back in a cup. All of that is in the clay. All of that is kept.